Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters, and Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Noise Junkies! It's a music podcast, baby! Covering every musical genre. What do we got that the others don't? I'll tell you! We got Mondo Heather's Heather Drain. Noise Junkie! We got Wolf and Raisins HP. Noise Junkie! We got Dark Destinations Father Malone. Noise Junkie! And we got you! We got music and we got you, baby! And you get it at Weird and Way Media. Noise Junkies!
We deal in paint, pigment, light and shadow, realism, surrealism, impressionism, and ghost stories.
An interest in the oddball, a predilection toward the bizarre. And this place is nothing if it isn't bizarre.
There's no admission, no requirement of membership, only a strong and abiding belief in the dark at the top of the stairs, or things that go bump in the night. The name of this place, should you have come in here accidentally out of the rain, is the Night Gallery.
Welcome back, art lovers, to Midnight Viewing, the Night Gallery podcast. I'm Father Malone, and with me here in the gallery are the Projection Booth podcast, Mr. Mike White.
I am the chicken of the sea.
Also joining us from the Culture Cast is Mr. Chris Stashew.
I'd like to be referred to as Mr. Blackout Sketch from here on out because, boy, we're just swimming in them, folks.
We are. We're going to get to those. And, we're going to talk a lot about Blackout Sketches tonight, I think. And we are discussing it here on Season 2, Episode 16. This aired on January the 12th, 1972. It was split into 3 segments. Those are Lindemann's Catch, The Late Mr. Peddington, and A Feast of Blood.
Painting number 1. Having to do with fishermen and what they fish for. Or, more specifically in this case, a fisherman and what he wasn't fishing for. What appeared in his net one afternoon defies logic, reason, and belief. But there it was. Lindemann's Catch.
Lindemann's Catch was written by Rod Serling, directed by Jeff Corey, stars Stuart Wittman, Jack Aronson, Annabelle Garth, and Harry Towns. This concerns a grizzled 19th century New England fisherman who nets a mermaid and the lengths he'll go to keep her on land. What'd you think of this one, Chris?
I love that now this show is just becoming extended Blackout sketches, because this is a 20-minute Blackout sketch, is it not? Is it not like, I want a mermaid and I want her to have legs. And then, of course, it's the fish that has legs. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Hugh Hefner would have printed that on page 15. I just don't get it. I mean, it's fine for what it is, but when it's this shaggy dog story, and then the punchline is it's a fish with legs, and it looks like a Captain Beefheart album on the like I'm sorry. It's fine. It was fine, but it was so silly ultimately and not scary. Like not like when you see what you end up seeing and the punchline is what it is, you just kind of go, I guess that there could have been nothing else.
How about you, Mike?
Yeah, it felt like it went on for a long time, and we don't really get to know anybody very well. I was really hoping that we would get to know Captain Lindemann a little bit more. He's pretty enigmatic. I mean, none of these actors really get too much to do or say. It is all just hung up on that whole thing of, oh, hey, here's this magic formula. This will help. And then, yeah, it's a lady with pretty legs and a big fish head. I was so waiting. I was sitting there. I was clapping in my living room. I'm just like, do it, show her. She's got a fish face. She's got a fish face. And then finally they did. And I laughed uproariously. How about you, Father Malone? What did you think?
Boy, I think this is a short story. I think this could have been a segment. I think the problem is, as stated, there's too many characters. We keep bouncing around from plot to plot when there's only one plot going on here. It's this guy in the mermaid. I don't know why.
No. It's the drunkard in the inn. It's the drunkard in the tavern. He's such an interesting character. And they're shooting Pickman's model in the next room.
Oh, well, of course. It's all
because it's like that same. It's like they just put people in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh, this is the tavern. Before it was just empty space. Like, all right.
To be fair, this is the seaport portion of the backlot instead of the European portion of the backlot.
My apologies.
Look, I'm making fun of that, but I think Jeff Corey actually did a really, really good job. It looks beautiful, the episode. It's set-bound, I suppose, but it doesn't look poorly made at all. I've said this before. Jeff Corey seems to get better and better and better as a filmmaker. The problem here is the script, which, as you stated, Mike, gives us nothing about Lindemann, whose catch this whole story revolves around. He's just a gruff, as you said, enigmatic, grizzled old fisherman, and that's all he begins that way, and he ends that way, with a hint that he's becoming a bit of a human being and that he's recognized how lonely he is. The drunkard character, the soothsayer, played by Harry Towns. Now, he had been on the Twilight Zone a bunch of times. 4 of Us Are Dying and Shadow Play. So he was a big Serling regular, so that's why he's here. And he's a really good actor. It's just that character is so goddamn annoying. When Lindemann is first introduced, he manhandles Suggs, like throws him to the ground. And the action is to show us what a miserable prick Lindemann is. But I gotta say, if some drunken psychic kept pawing after me night after night, speaking the kind of dialogue Serling has coming out of his mouth, I'd put his head into the spittoon as well.
Well, and he even says it. Lindemann goes, I come in here for 1 hour a day to be left alone, and here you come over here bothering me again. It's like, are we supposed to hate this character now? Because, yeah, like, I'm with you. Like, the last thing I'd want is some drunk asshole being like, want me to read your tea leaves? Like, I'm good. And if you come over to me again, the answer will be the same. So stop it.
This guy has been out at sea all day, catching nothing at all. It's a grinding, miserable life. He's cold and wet. And then
he might be a heroin addict, too.
Could be. Yeah. No, see, that's the thing. This isn't Gloucester. I'm maligning the entire town of Gloucester right now.
My apologies, lobster fishermen of the world.
I'm not saying some of the Gloucestermen were heroin addicts in the past. I'm not saying that at all. But this town being portrayed is definitely not Gloucester because they keep referring to, we got to go up to Boston, which means that this is probably like Mystic, Connecticut, like a Connecticut town, which makes sense given how bloodthirsty and awful the populace is. Yeah, that's right. I'm taking down Connecticut as well. Fuck you, Connecticut. They're all awful down there.
Wow.
Anyway.
Wait a second. What did Connecticut do?
Connecticut is just terrible. Trust me, I grew up just north of it.
Is it because it should be pronounced Connecticut?
It's because they somehow have a sense of superiority when they're the worst state in the Union. And no, that's not true. That's New Hampshire. Anyway,
How could anyone even have an opinion on New Hampshire? I don't even understand.
You should spend some time in New Hampshire. You know, New Hampshire is the best way I heard it ever described was that thing you have to drive through to get to Maine. Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, back to the story here. So ultimately, the alternatives that both Lindemann and the townsfolk are giving this mermaid that they've pulled, not ashore, but onto the boat, is she can either asphyxiate on the boat or she can be sold into servitude somewhere up in Boston as a freak for 2 bits a gander. Everyone
Even Barnum couldn't do something this good.
Everyone here is awful. The worst, of course, being the doctor who sees how wrong everything is and is just like, well, whatever you guys want to do. And it's either the doctor or the narrator. Here's Serling. Here he goes. Halfway through, just tells us, or 3/4 of the way to, flat out tells us, well, Lindemann cares for nothing and no one. And now he finally cares for something. And now she's out on that boat. You can't go down there. You'll get shot. Anyway.
And well, I was expecting you to mention the tongue clucking at the end where it's all of the people are on the boat looking into the water and saying bullshit to no end about nothing. We must feed the sea once again, and the sea is not like, where is this coming from? What is this? What does this have to do with anything, Rod? Like
anything at all, really.
Yeah. Rod, calm down, Rod. We get it. It can just be a story about a fish. Like, it doesn't have to be some grand musing on loneliness by way of Rod Serling. Like, it doesn't have to be.
So did they blow the entire season's makeup budget on Pickman's model? I'm guessing that's the case.
I like the tongue in the fish mask. Yeah. There's clearly someone like moving their tongue like in the lips. That's the best effect.
I appreciated that effort. Mm-hmm. The mask.
Would it have been better if it had been the Gill Man? Just the Gill Man painted like pink.
With a wig. Gill Man plus wig. Definitely.
I mean, it's bad. It's bad.
So, okay, I mentioned Jeff Corey as the director here. He got away with a feat here on Night Gallery in that he shot night for night.
Yeah.
Looked beautiful. I loved it. Apparently, Rod Serling was also burned in anger over the fact that they had to shoot so much day for night, and that was budgetary, and so was excited that they got to do this one. Night for night, as it was. The young lady, Annabelle Garth, playing the mermaid, she developed bronchitis from sitting around on a boat for 2-3 days without a shirt on. She took that home with her. And apparently this episode, the censors, it was a detailed inspection because they kept claiming that nipples were seen. In fact, there was some sort of huge hubbub over what turned out to be her elbow.
I was about to say, like, there was a lot of sort of nudity in this, more so than I have seen in television from 72. Like, it is bare breast, no nipple.
Not only that, when she finally turns into fish lady top, regular lady bottom, when she jumps into the water, it's like it's almost her ass on display. Yeah, like really pushed it in those areas. I wish they had pushed it a little more with the fish mask. Anything scary, even just gills applied to her neck and fish teeth in her mouth, something horrible other than a Dawn Post reject mask.
It really is surprisingly lazy, even for this show.
Speaking of lazy, so now this was an original by Rod Serling. Although, was it? August Derleth has written a bunch of stories that got produced in episodes. In fact, he had a book of short stories called The Sleeping and the Dead. At least 3 of the stories in that book got adapted. Those are Painted Mirror, which we've already seen, Last Rites of a Dead Druid, which is coming up, Death on the Barge was also in there. There was also a story called Carnaby's Fish, which is about a real estate agent, and he's tasked with selling a house beside a lake. He discovers that there's a mermaid inside the lake, and he slowly falls in love with that mermaid. And while he's trying to sell the house, in fact, he doesn't even want to sell the house because of this beautiful thing that can now end his loneliness. And when she finally emerges, she emerges as a horrible fish monster that he then slays. That story's in that book that 3 other episodes of Night Gallery were based on, but it certainly had no bearing on Rod Serling's original here.
No, not that I could tell. Completely different stories, Your Honor. Allegedly.
You're casting aspersions.
Are you saying that we can't tell a story about a mermaid wanting legs? Hans Christian Andersen has something to say about that.
I just wanted to end it by saying the painting promised a lot more than we got. That sequence, good Lord.
So good.
Don't do that, Thomas Wright. What are you doing, man? That's like watching Batman as a kid, and the animated credit sequence starts up, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be great, and then it's Adam West, and it's just like, okay, all right, well, this will do, I suppose. I was expecting a cartoon.
A dead man splattered on a concrete walk. Not the most appetizing of scenes and not the pleasantest of stories, but if you're interested remotely in homey homicides, this may be your bag. We call it The Late Mr. Peddington.
The Late Mr. Peddington. This one was written by Jack Laird, based on the short story The Flatmate by Frank Sisk, and directed by Jeff Corey. Stars Harry Morgan and Kim Hunter and sane human Randy Quaid. This is his second performance after Last Picture Show. This is the story of a widow searching for a bargain funeral for a late husband. Or is he early? What'd you think of this one, Mike?
Yeah, it was nice to see Randy Quaid, very young, and great seeing Henry Morgan, great seeing Kim Hunter, but I don't know, it felt like we had seen this before. This felt very much like that vampire, Werner Klempler, having his own funeral almost, but just a little twist on that. So it was all right. Yeah.
What about you, Chris?
This is 2 for 2 for blackout sketches in this episode that go on way too long.
Right.
This is a blackout. I mean, no, you're totally right, Mike. This is that's why I said at the beginning of the episode, you can call me Mr. Blackout Sketch, because this show now is taking things that we've seen them do in a shortened, 2-minute, 3-minute version, and now they're like, oh, we need to have Kim Hunter being very weird for no reason, mind you. I don't understand why her character is so strange. I understand that she's trying to be coy with Harry Morgan, but she's also being a fucking weirdo. And it amounts to nothing. It goes nowhere. It seems like maybe it's trying to direct you in one direction. And then ultimately the punchline is, oh, she's going to kill her husband, and she was trying to figure out how to do it on the cheap, how to do the funeral on the cheap. But that doesn't need to be more than a 2-panel comic. And there's 4 lines of dialogue needed to explain this entire scenario. And one of those is, as the guy falls out the window.
Yeah, that ending is so abrupt, and that they just cut back to the picture, the painting. I'm just like, whoa, what just happened?
That was my favorite part of the episode, actually. It was like a slap in the face.
It was hilarious.
Also, remember the sound of that scream, gentlemen. Not for this episode, but maybe in a future episode. I like this just fine. I agree with you, Chris. It is a blackout sketch. No more, no less. But like earlier in the season, the sort of elongated blackout sketches became a thing when Big Surprise, Richard Matheson's short story. That's when we could see that they were taking the normal blackout sketches and stretching them a little bit further than maybe needed to be. But it also showed that the blackout sketches could be a lot more than what we were getting. And
right, because you liked that segment a lot.
I like Big Surprise a lot. I liked this one, too. The problem is it's too familiar. We've seen, it's so funny, at the start of the recording of this entire series, I mentioned that we're going to see a lot of marriages on display and lots of jealousy and murderous husbands and wives. And man, it's all Jack Laird, who I think had gone through a bitter divorce before this series had started. So this is another perfect example of that. Having said that, I loved watching Kim Hunter. I loved how weird she was in this. And I was a little confused as to what was going on for a good portion of the episode. And then once it became apparent that she was planning the murder, then it all unraveled because none of that makes sense. She wouldn't be checking with this guy. Right. She was checking to see how much insurance money she was going to be getting, along with how cheap funeral can be. You know how cheap the funeral can be? Just to donate the body to the whatever. You don't have to pay. Right. There needed to be some better conversation where, and then the twist is that she's actually been planning the murder the whole time. Or talking to a detective maybe. How would I get away with it? That could maybe a little bit more interesting. One thing I did, this is just weird. When the episode opens, it's Harry Morgan pulling a bottle of liquor from between formaldehyde and whatever. And when he swigs it, he says, better. Which, weirdly, is the exact thing Jordy Verrill says in The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill in Creepshow after he drinks down the vodka. Better. That's lots better. Anyway, that was just something I noticed.
Well, and Harry Morgan, the way that he's dressed, it looks like he's in the 1880s. And then Kim Hunter walks in, and I'm just like, oh, okay, we're in modern times? All right.
And then Randy Quaid at the end, oh, by the way, youth culture still exists too.
Yeah.
It's the 70s, folks. My favorite bit in the entire episode segment is when she's about to flick her cigarette and he comes up underneath it with the manila folder. Like, again, like, what's so strange? Like, what?
Mm-hmm. They worked out some odd business, the two of them. And I that's the thing. It ends up being kind of a nothing of an episode, but I wasn't mad when I was watching it. I enjoyed watching these two people. And this is Kim Hunter has a long tradition with Rod Serling. She was in Requiem for a Heavyweight. She was in The Comedian, which is another play that he had on television. And she's in Planet of the Apes, which Rod Serling wrote.
And what a different performance she is in this compared to, we just talked about her a few months ago, Chris, was Suitable for Framing, that Columbo episode. She's like this complete ditz in that, and here she's so like cold and calculating.
Yeah, but it works in both directions. She's a fantastic actor.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that's the thing. Like we've all mentioned at this point, like this episode segment, it's just not much of anything, but at least it has good actors in it. At least it's competently acted. Like,
had it been some of the regular players that they sometimes stick on Night Gallery, I don't know that I would have stood for any of the thing. I would have been particularly angry at the end when it turned out to be the twist that it was, even though that ending is pretty great.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact that all of a sudden it's just there's Randy Quaid, just chilling on screen, and you can hear his voice in the beginning of the segment. Because it's, Dad, there's somebody. And like when I rewatched it, I was like, right, that is Randy Quaid, if you're like paying attention. But they don't even bill him in the episode credits. Like he's not mentioned it's Kim Hunter and Harry Morgan, and that's it.
Yeah, he shows up in the end credits though.
Right. It was just like when I was, because like I would have noticed it and been on the lookout for like, where's Randy Quaid? But then it's like, oh, okay, so he's just like chilling at the end.
It adds to the shocking nature of the ending. It's, oh my God, Randy Quaid. Oh my God, we're out the window.
It's the second best dummy I've ever seen since David Warner had a dummy chucked at him. It's just as good.
Speaking of paintings in the last one, my God, what a painting here. There's just the body splattered on the I want to own this one.
Yeah. I like Rod Serling is like, this is a pretty nasty painting. He leads
he
with
points
that.
it out.
Yeah. Which he hasn't really done. He's like, this isn't something you'd want hanging on your wall. Yeah, Rod.
Wrong again, Rod.
In the general generic area of costume jewelry, note girl and note expression. Obviously a lady much disturbed by whatever little bauble she has recently been the recipient of. A said sentence improperly ending on a preposition. But this story ending on a much more deadly note than that. We call it A Feast of Blood.
All right, our next segment is A Feast of Blood. This was written by Stanford Whitmore, based on the short story The Fur Brooch by Dulcie Gray, and directed by Jeannot Zwark. This one stars Norman Lloyd, Sondra Locke, and Hermione Badley. It's the story of a young woman and a rather ominous suitor and the weird brooch he offers her as a present. I'll start on this one here, if you don't mind, Phyllis.
Thank you.
All right. Norman Lloyd. I'm going to start with the good things that I like in this segment. Norman Lloyd, who I think most people of my age, maybe a little bit older, know him from Saint Elsewhere, which he was great on. But in the decade previous, he was a producer on Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which I did not know. And the weird sort of incestuous Night Gallery connection with this guy is that Jack Laird produced a pilot for a television series called The Dark Intruder that ended up getting released theatrically. Just the pilot got released. In that, there's the villain is Dr. Malachi, who's portrayed on screen by Werner Klemperer and voiced by Norman Lloyd. That's weird. Yeah. Sondra Locke, who the year before had been nominated for an Academy Award, actually sought out a role on Night Gallery because she was such a fan of The Twilight Zone and Rod Serling. So that's the first time I've heard of an actor trying to get on the show that they didn't have to go find. Other than that, the performances are good, somewhat. Norman Lloyd is fantastically menacing. The brooch is creepy and weird that he gives her. The story is that this suitor shows up and gives this girl who doesn't really care about him this brooch. It's a little rodent, and then she spurns him, and then the brooch grows big. Oh boy, does it grow big! And it chews her, I guess, a little bit, and then it returns to its normal size, and this guy performs the same bit again.
Comically large, one might say.
Yeah.
Is the message here that everyone is terrible? Because everyone in this episode is terrible. This guy's basically a rapist, and if you don't fuck him, then his magic brooch is going to kill you, right? That's what happens here.
Was he not like stealing their like beauty too? Was that not a component to this, or was that me reading in?
That was him. Just talking kooky talk, but like
okay, because I thought there was like a Tales from the Crypt thing. You know what I'm talking about, Father Malone, where it's like I made the bust of your face and I stole your beauty. Like that's what I thought it was, and then no, it's just this giant goofy ass brooch, like goofy looking. Like it reminded me. This episode segment reminded me of the one with Jack Cassidy and the giant spider.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, look at this giant thing that we can't make look good, but we're going with it anyways. Like, God, come on. This is Kolchak fighting an invisible monster levels of fucking wild. Like, come on, guys.
It's ghillie-suited Brenda Man.
It's just such a...
That's not true. It's better than ghillie-suited Brenda Man, because the design is cool. And even as goofy as it is, that it just keeps getting larger, and they keep doing wide shots of her running. What's wrong with you, Jeannot? Wide shots of her running with this giant, like, I don't know, like gummy bear. That's all I could think. It looked like a giant gummy bear. Like, what do you have to fear? You could eat it.
I think the worst thing about this episode segment is that the painting is so good.
Oh, well, I'm obviously a big fan of that painting. I think it's...
Me too. I'm a fan of that painting as well. And like, again, it like the last, or I guess the first episode segment on this episode, like it makes a promise of something that is not followed through on. Like I don't understand what the point of this segment was, other than like you said, Father Malone, everybody's terrible.
How about you, Mike? What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I was impressed. So this might be controversial, but I've never found Sondra Locke to be that attractive, but in this, I was like, oh, I can kind of see it. I can kind of see that she's attractive in this one. And then she gets attacked by a brooch. The end.
The blackout extravaganza this episode, really.
It is. And yeah, like he is this essentially a rapist. So I was like, okay. Yeah, I was waiting for him to get his comeuppance at the end. Like somehow she survives and gifts it back to him, but that's not the case.
Interesting optics for this episode segment.
Mm-hmm.
Our
hero is a rapist.
Are we too woke?
Sorry. I'll leave. The wokester needs to leave. Sorry.
Yeah.
So what's with Sondra Locke and rodents? She restricted that rat boy. She was in Willard. She got killed by a giant rodent in this. She loves rodents. They had some rear screen projection when they were driving. I loved it. It looked great. And Night for Night again. How do you like that? Twice in one episode. At the end, okay, this should have been a blackout sketch. It should have been just a girl breaking up with a guy on the phone. He's like, did you get that gift I sent you? And she's like, I don't want to see you. You're an idiot. I used you for your money and blah, blah, blah. And then she gets killed. That would have been okay. At the end, we have these two bicyclists, these Englishmen. Their characters' names are Frankie and Jippo. And apparently the characters were named for two characters in John Ford's The Informer. That's totally inconsequential, as the characters are, because why are they even there? Why are we spending any time with them at all?
They can find a dead body, that's why. And then the episode segment ends.
If only the camera could have done that for us.
Yeah.
That is the funniest part of the segment, is that camera angle, where it's like set on the ground in front of her, pointed at them, but you can't see anything, and they're just like, whoa. Yeah, that's great, guys. Great reactions. We got it. We're done. Jeannot Swark is not doing any favors for any of these segments at all. Like, I don't think I've seen one yet where I've been like, Jeannot Swark added something to this. Most of the time, Jeannot Swark's name is tied to the worst episode segments that we're watching.
Hey, don't talk about Jeannot that way. I won't stand for it, even if I'm sitting.
You know what? Jaws 2 is fine. This leaves a lot to be desired.
It wasn't good.
It's a blackout sketch. I mean, it's unfortunate that we just keep getting extended blackout sketches because this show is good when it is good when they're putting effort in. That is the problem. It's just like Tales from the Crypt. It's just like Twilight Zone 1985. When it's good and the people who are doing the work well, it's really good, and there's nothing better anthology-wise. When it's bad, it's like everybody collectively lost their fucking minds.
The problem here is that Rod Serling's way was wrong and Jack Laird's way is wrong. There was somewhere in between. It had they mediated and worked it out where this show could have been the best horror anthology of all time.
Right.
Because if Rod Serling was writing blackout sketches, that could be something. He could get his little bitter, ironic thing out in a couple of minutes, as opposed to, they should have just assigned him all the 12-minute segments for this entire thing. It would have been great. Would have forced him to be concise as a writer.
If he's not willing to do the introductions for the blackout sketches, he ain't willing to fucking write them, right? Like,
certainly
it's probably... It's beneath me.
I'm not saying he should have been assigned them necessarily. I'm just saying, had they worked it out, then this show
Sure,
would
I agree.
Phenomenal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, a Twilight Zone for the 70s, like, that's what the promise of this show is.
And could have grown into that.
Right, and when it satisfies that, it really satisfies it. But it's few and far between in this second season. But again, like, there's, you know what, though, like, in reality, if you take a step back, every episode has multiple segments. So we're talking about, by the end of the show, how many segments? Like, almost 100.
Oh, yeah.
Law of averages would denote 50% are good, 50% are bad. And I think we're still right there.
There hasn't been a precipitous drop-off. It's definitely better than the first season, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It has ups and downs, but once you got past the pilot of the first season, it was a law of diminishing returns. There were little pleasures to be had here and there, but certainly not like this season. So,
well, and I mean, again, when this season opens with the banger of bangers, the boy who predicted earthquakes. I mean, again, like that, it might be the best segment on this entire show, and it opens the second season. Like,
yeah.
Hard to measure up to, but at the same time, like...
At least it wasn't the first episode of the first season like Twilight or Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
I'll take an episode like this one of basically extended blackout sketches over one segment of they're tearing down Tim Riley's bar, so...
Thank you. There is, we should start like how they have like a job site. It's like one day without disaster. There should be one episode without for He's a Jolly Good Fellow.
Oh my God, right? All our reviews would be glowing from here on in.
Yeah.
And remember, gents, this was not tearing down Tim Riley's bar.
God.
All right, we're going to play a preview of our next episode, and we'll be right back to wrap things up.
Painting number 1. A small item of hope and faith and despair. An excursion into the eerie in which we touch base with that fraternity of the dispossessed who seek out something miraculous in the way of cures and in the way of hope. Our painting is called The Miracle at Camafeo, and it's offering number 1 in this, the Night Gallery. A bit of gossamer and lace, as befits a beautiful woman. Fragile and ephemeral, in keeping with the soft mystery of the female. But to the gentlemen amongst you, who, like all your male predecessors since the beginning of time, have been mystified and miffed by a female counterpart, this one is for you. A beautiful lady in a strange house, also inhabited, alas, by the ghost of Sorworth Place.
That's right. On the next midnight viewing, we'll be taking a look at Season 2, Episode 17. That's broken into 2 segments, The Miracle at Camafeo and The Ghost of Sorworth Place. Until then, where can people find you, Chris Stashu?
WeirdingWayMedia.com is where I post everything I work on, which, like you mentioned at the beginning of this show, includes the Culture Cast and a lot of other things, including the Hollywood Cinema Club, Twilight Zone 1985, which was called Dreams for Sale, the Kolchak tapes. There's a lot of stuff, and you can find all of that at WeirdingWayMedia.com.
And how about you, Mike White? And as for me, ditto. All right, thank you all for joining us here at Midnight Viewing. The gallery is now closed.